Hello, I'm Chris, welcome back to FRAG-MENTAL. Thank you for joining me. I have bought so many fragrances this year, it's ridiculous, and we're not even halfway through. So in this video, I thought I'd show you what I've been buying, and at the end, add up the total cost. A fair few fragrances have landed in the FRAG-MENTAL offices over the last few months. Partly this is because there's been a lot of new releases, and I've also bought a few fragrances that I've had my eye on for a little while. So I'm going to go through each of the fragrances I've bought, talk just a little bit about them because there are a few, so I can't talk a lot about each one. And then I'm going to do the scary thing of adding up how much I've spent on all these fragrances. Let's get into it. The first fragrance is one I've had my eye on for a little while. This is a bit of a modern classic and I just had to have a bottle of this. I've been meaning to buy one for years. It's NUIT. Just the quintessential, good smelling, mass appealing, crowd pleasing, spicy smelling fragrance. This is such a good smell. I know many YouTubers have said that in videos before me, but it's one of those smells that many people around you will really enjoy. And they might even tell you that they really enjoy it. I did have a 2012 decant, so the slightly older formulation, which apparently lasts a little bit longer. I used all that up and I thought, okay, I need to have a bottle. So I've just bought what I think is the most recent formulation, which gets criticised for not having the performance of older batches. I gotta say, I'm not really noticing a massive difference. Maybe there's a little bit of a difference there, but not so much that I wouldn't want to deprive myself of owning a bottle of this beautiful juice. So really glad that I finally picked this one up. At the same time as buying that one, I also purchased Valentino Uomo Intense. I'd heard a lot of positive things about this. Pretty similar to Dior Homme Intense, which I love. So I think I bought this one mainly because I wanted to compare it to Dior Homme Intense. It is good, it does compare to it. I do think Dior Homme Intense is better. It is more intense than this one, but that does work slightly in the favor of this one because I think it has more versatility because it isn't quite as intense. I feel like I could wear this for more situations, but still a good fragrance, not quite as good as Dior Homme Intense, but still very wearable. There have been so many brand new fragrance releases this year, and this is one of the new ones that I bought. This is Hugo Boss The Scent Magnetic. Really good scent. I'm glad I bought this one. It is a very sweet, fruity scent. It's got that sweet, fruity profile that I've smelled in fragrances before, so it's not really doing anything new, but it is very enjoyable. I get a bit of an apple pie, cherry sort of vibe with this. Other than that sweet, fruity woodiness, in my opinion, it's not really doing a great deal more than that. There's not much complexity here, but if you like sweet fragrances, then you'd probably like this one. I reviewed it favorably. A lot of people around you are going to enjoy this. This is definitely a crowd-pleasing fragrance. Just smell it if you can before you buy it, because it may smell pretty similar to other things that you have in your collection. The next one is another new release. This one just sort of dropped on us without any warning. There was no hype, no build up to this one because no one knew it was coming. I just saw a post, I think on Facebook, saying that the new Tom Ford Grey Vetiver Parfum was available at duty free in some airports. It just so happened the next day I was passing through Manchester Airport and there it was, right there in front of me. So I had to pick it up. I was going skiing, I was going on a skiing trip with my dad, and I actually made a video where I reviewed this fragrance in the chalet when I was in the Alps, and it's a good one. It does smell pretty similar to the original Grey Vetiver. It's just not quite as sparkling, not quite as airy. It's a little heavier as you'd expect from a parfum. So if you own the EDP Grey Vetiver, you probably don't need to own this one as well. But if you don't own the EDP, then definitely check this one out. If you like vetiver, really good fragrance, pretty pricey. It's Tom Ford. If you like vetiver, you'll probably like this one. So far, all really good fragrances. I'm not disappointed with any of these. And I say that because sometimes I can be disappointed. When I buy a brand new release, there's not been an opportunity to smell it. I want to get a video out pretty quickly, so I do blind buy a lot of the new releases. I did that with Mont Blanc's Explorer Platinum. This one comes with a certain amount of hype, not because of the last one, Ultra Blue, because that didn't really get any hype because it wasn't that amazing, but the one before it, Mont Blanc Explorer, did get a lot of hype because it smelled like AVENTUS, so everyone was loving it because they could get a cheaper version of AVENTUS. Not exactly the same, doing its own thing. So I was interested. I was thinking, can they recreate that magic with Platinum? Is it going to be a smell alike of something else? Is it going to be maybe something like Green Irish Tweed or Silver Mountain Water? Are they going that route? Well, they don't seem to have done. This is, in my opinion, a nice fragrance, but it's a little bit boring. I do enjoy wearing this for the couple of hours that I'm getting wafts on my skin. You may get better performance than me, but for me, the performance on this was a little bit lackluster. So lackluster performance combined with a smell that was nothing that new or original or exciting, a little bit samey, then I didn't really think this was worth picking up. Smell it, you might like it. It's a pretty easy to wear, likable fragrance, but it's not doing anything massively interesting. So yeah, a little bit disappointed with my purchase of this one. Another 2 new releases next. These were from Guerlain, always up for a Guerlain, especially when it's part of the Ideal line, which I think is a great line. The Ideal line has this almond note at the heart of their fragrances and then all sorts of other notes built around them. So when they announced L'Homme Ideal Platine Privé, I thought that sounds great. That sounds like a fragrance I would really enjoy. They really built it up in the marketing, saying it was a reimagining, it was a reinterpretation, it was brand new fragrance. To my nose, I can't smell really any difference between this and the discontinued L'Homme Ideal cologne. So I think that they've just re-released it at a higher price point with a different name, different packaging. People with better noses than me may pick out some subtle differences, but as far as I can tell, overall, it's the same scent. If it's not exactly the same, then it's doing exactly the same job. So it's a great fragrance because I love L'Homme Ideal cologne. I have a bottle over there, so I didn't really need a bottle of this one, but it was a blind buy, so I didn't know it was going to smell exactly the same. So great fragrance. If you've got L'Homme Ideal cologne, you probably don't need to pick this one up. If you couldn't get L'Homme Ideal cologne before it was discontinued, then this is one to definitely try. At the same time, Guerlain released Habit Rouge Rouge Privé. Habit Rouge is quite a vintage smelling fragrance, citrus, bright citrus and woods and some rose. Very popular, very well known, very famous fragrance. Younger wearers may find it smells a little too mature. I don't think that changes massively with this one because they've amped up a few elements of this. The leather is more robust and the vanilla is thicker and creamier. I don't think this will appeal to people who felt Habit Rouge was a little too mature smelling to appeal to them. I don't think this is any more youthful, but what it is more modern because that creamy vanilla just seems to bring it a little bit more up to date. It's got more attitude, it's got more punch with the robust leather in there, real rugged, robust leather. I think it's a fantastic fragrance. This is a statement maker. It's something that I would wear at a formal occasion or a special event. I really enjoy this one. The thing that stings a little bit about these fragrances is the cost. I think Rouge Privé was 120. Platinum Privé was £100. It'll probably come down in price when it's not quite as new, but I picked up L'Homme Ideal cologne, a smaller bottle than this, I think a 50ml, but I got that for about £20. So yeah, that was much cheaper and it's the same smell as this one. So yeah, it stings a little bit, but it's a good smell and maybe I'll run out of L'Homme Ideal cologne one day and I'll still have this one. If you love fragrance as much as I do, head over to my online store, luxplatform.co.uk. You'll find my favourite brands, plus brands you can't find anywhere else in the UK. Link is in the description. Next is another brand new release I purchased a few weeks ago. I was really impressed with Spice Bomb Infrared when that came out a couple of years ago. So when the EDP was announced, I was pretty excited. No problem blind buying this one, and I gotta say, I wasn't disappointed. Overall, I did slightly prefer the smell of the original Infrared, but I did decide to layer the EDP with the EDT. All the best things about those two fragrances combined, they both play on red things, so like red berries and red chilies, that type of thing. There's some spice to it, but there's also a sweet, smooth red fruitiness. So if you're gonna buy one, I'd go for the EDT. If you do buy both, layer them. It's that time of year when a lot of the summer releases are coming out, and without fail, every year, from Dolce & Gabbana, we get a flanker to light blue. This year, it's light blue summer vibes. Look at that bottle. Wow, best light blue bottle, but we don't only buy a fragrance for the bottle, do we? We'd never do that. No, we buy for the juice inside, not for how sexy and amazing it looks up on your shelf. Good fragrance, smells more like Light Blue Eau Intense than the previous two releases, which were Italian Love and Forever. They were big grapefruit bombs, a little too grapefruity for me, although I did prefer Italian Love. I thought that was a nice fragrance. I prefer this to all of them. A little bit more like Light Blue Eau Intense. Really nice, classy fragrance to wear in the summer, casually, or in the evenings. A good release, good flanker from Dolce & Gabbana. Did I mention bottle on that? Next, another new release. I did blind buy this one, although I did buy it from a store, but they did not have a tester. They had a tester of the EDT version of this, but not of the EDP. So I smelled the EDT, and then I bought the EDP of Prada Luna Rossa Ocean, and I compared the two side by side. I thought the EDT was nice, it was fruity, it was sparkly, it was definitely a summer type scent, but overall I did prefer Ocean, but not because it's more summery. This is not necessarily a summer fragrance, even though it's called Ocean. It does have citruses, but it's quite a creamy scent. There's a lot of vanilla in here. It's actually got a scent profile that reminded me of the Armani Code profile, probably closest to Code Parfum, but it does have a little bit of that Code DNA in there, which I love, so no problem with this smelling similar. But yeah, not necessarily a summer fragrance. I think you could wear it in the summer, but it is quite dense and quite heavy. But yeah, nice release, which I blind bought and wasn't disappointed with. Next is a fragrance that has certainly got people talking. Acqua di Gio Profumo is one of the most beloved aquatic fragrances. We've been hearing for a few months now rumours of discontinuation. Apparently you can't find it in the States. You can still purchase it in the UK, but I think the options are getting smaller and smaller, and it seems like we're getting to the point where we will lose the chance to buy Profumo altogether. I think, don't quote me on that, but it seems like we're going that way. This new release from Armani is Acqua di Gio Parfum. As far as I can tell, this is almost identical to Profumo. Almost, about 97% of the way there, and I think they're going to phase out Profumo and have this one. When I compared this to my version of Profumo, which is a few years old because it has a magnetic cap, I could detect some differences. The main differences were in the performance. It didn't seem as long lasting. It didn't seem quite as punchy, quite as intense. There could have been a couple of reasons for that. Mine sat in the bottle, maybe macerated for a few years, but I think there has been a newer formulation of Profumo since my magnetic cap version. It may be that current formulations of Profumo that you can still buy online today and maybe in some stores was slightly weakened compared to the magnetic cap version. So this, the Parfum, may be exactly the same juice as the current Profumo. The older Profumo, magnetic cap, smells better. Pick that one up whilst you can, but this is almost there. In the air, I don't think you're really going to tell much difference. I've seen a few people say that this is rebranded Essenza that was discontinued years ago. I've never smelled Essenza. I don't have it. It's hard to get hold of now. Unless Essenza smelled almost the same as Profumo, then I can't see it, because in this, I get the herbs, I get the incense, I pick out the rosemary, which I think is a fairly prominent herbal note in Profumo. Essenza doesn't have rosemary listed. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with that. If you've tried it and you've got Essenza, do you think it's rebranded Essenza? I think it smells pretty much identical to Profumo, but you know, maybe everyone gets something different. That's just my take on it. We're going back to a fragrance that I've had my eyes on for a little while. I had to pick this one up after watching a Justin Copeland video. I'd smelt this when it was a new release, really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised. It's Dior Homme. So when they released this new formulation of Dior Homme in 2020, there was uproar because they'd taken out that lipsticky iris note, and how dare they do that, because that was the character, that was the distinctive character of that fragrance. I agree, I think it was, and I loved it for that. But then what they did is they kept this one, and then the one with the iris in, they also kept, and renamed that Dior Homme Original. At this moment in time, you can still buy Dior Homme Original with the lipsticky iris, and you can buy Dior Homme which doesn't have iris in, completely different scent. Justin was right, it's a very classy masculine fragrance. It's got a lovely dry woody vetiver profile. I don't have a problem with owning this and the original Dior Homme because they smell so different. This is just one of those classic Dior fragrances that is super versatile. It could easily become someone's signature scent. It's so well done. The quality, as we would expect with Dior, is right up there. So really nice scent. If you've not checked out Dior Homme 2020 because you're salty about them taking out the iris, then give it a try and maybe give it a few wears if you can, because I think most people would probably like this. I do. More fragrances I've had my eye on for a little while. I remember wearing a sample of this fragrance and someone paid me a massive compliment. I walked into this room and this girl said to me, "Wow, you smell amazing. Just like that. She was as enthused as that. She said, wow. It was maybe more like, oh, someone smells nice. Yeah, I think that was probably more like it. But in my mind, that was, wow, you smell amazing. At that point, I knew that one day I would have to buy a bottle of this fragrance. And from Parfum de Marly, that is Percival. I love Parfum de Marly. I think they're a great brand. At the same time, I bought another Marly fragrance that I wanted for a couple of years now. It's also fresh. It also comes in a blue bottle. This one is Sedley. I was influenced into buying this, or shall we say, tipped over the edge into purchasing it. It'd been in my mind to pick up at some point. I'd had a sample, really enjoyed it. Then I watched a video with Andrea from Curly Scents, Michelle from Curly Fragrance, and Miss Fresh, and they all said this was one of the best fragrances to smell on a man. So I thought, if it's endorsed by the Curlys and Miss Fresh, I gotta have it. As simple as that. The last one is probably the most hyped fragrance of any new fragrance release this year. I'm a big La Mal fan. I wore that as my signature scent for a long time. You know I'm gonna mention La Mal Elixir. This is beautiful stuff. You've got the La Mal smell in there, a bit of lavender, a bit of mint, but there's sweet, darker tones. I get maybe some smells that remind me of toffee and caramel, so it's very smooth. Performance on this is fantastic. I wear this and I am getting wafts all day for hours, so fantastic performance. A little bit of La Mal freshness with some tobacco and honey. Right up my street. I love La Mal, I love tobacco, especially combined with honey. It's one of the best pairings for tobacco. I am not disappointed in this fragrance at all. Thing is though, I bought it twice. This one is unopened. There's still a bottle in there. I'm gonna keep it sealed just in case. The reason I've got to is I ordered this one from Jean Paul Gaultier directly, and I think it was coming from Spain, and it got caught up in customs. It was taking over a week. It became available on a website here in the UK called Next, and they were offering next day delivery, and I really wanted to get a video out on this. I really wanted to smell it. So even though I knew that that was in the mail, it was stuck indefinitely. It could have been 2 weeks, it could have been a month. I couldn't wait, so I pulled the trigger on buying this one from Next as well. I was thinking, should I sell this? But you know what, I love this so much that I'm quite happy to have a backup bottle. One day in the next 50 years, maybe I'll have finished this bottle. The overall cost of all these fragrances combined, what I have spent so far this year, 5 months in, is £1,325. Now, when I say that out loud, that's a little bit scary. That's a lot of money on fragrances. I do not recommend that you lot out there spend that amount of money on fragrances, unless you can afford it. Unless money is no object, then go for your life, buy them all, you know, get them all stacked up on your shelf. But for a lot of people, don't just go blind buying these fragrances at full retail like I do. It's a bit different for me. I run this YouTube channel, so all these fragrances that I've bought here are on some level an investment into my channel. I use them to make content, I make revenue off that content, and that covers the cost of the fragrances. Just try to buy fragrances that you love, fragrances that to you are 10 out of 10 fragrances, and then you're not wasting any money. And even if you have a large collection, then if you've got a large collection of 10 out of 10 fragrances, that's great. So that is what I've spent so far. If I spend double that maybe, if the amount of new releases keep coming as thick and fast as they have done so far, I'm going to be spending maybe 3,000 on buying fragrances. Right, that's going to do it for this one. Let's see what happens towards the end of the year. Are we going to get loads more new releases? If we do, I'll do my best to blind buy and take the hit for you guys and get early fragrance reviews out for you. If you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a like, something a little bit different. Subscribe if you want things that are a little bit different, because I do try to do a few videos here at FRAG-MENTAL that are a little bit different. Subscribe if you want different. If you do all that, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.